Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Clangin and Bangin with Mikey, episode 174. And first things first, happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. But particularly happy Mother's Day to people who no longer have their mothers with them, man. Um, Mother's Days and Father's Days, shit like that too. Birthdays, holidays. It's always a double-edged sword, man, because it's like, okay, um, I understand all that, I get all that, and what's crazy to me is that people don't realize, yeah, we're getting older, but so is our parents, you know. We're getting older, but so is everybody else, and like if we don't stop and we don't think, before things happen in certain situations, you end up in situations where it's like, oh, like you're like, damn, I wish I would have called more, texted more, whatever it is. Um, and that's true. Nobody wants to get that phone call, that your mother, your father, your sibling has died. Um, yeah, and it just like it puts things into perspective. It's like if people tell you like it doesn't put things in perspective, they're lying. They're lying because you'll never ever get the chance to see that person again or talk to them again, or reminisce about certain shit that you guys did. Um, yeah. But anyway, man, this episode is about. Well, there's really no topic, man. It's like, you know, actually, there is a topic. Um, the topic we're gonna talk about today is, can somebody afford you? And I don't mean just financially, because financially you should be able to afford yourself. I've never been a fan of girls asking for money to pay for their nails, hair, and all kinds of shit, right? And I'm like, no, that's a personal thing. You should always be able to upkeep that. Like, I'm never gonna help out with that because that's something that's personal. You know, if you can't afford that, then maybe you should start looking how to budget your expenses better. But what I mean by can somebody afford you, meaning a guy or a girl, or whatever your sexual or orientation or preference is, can they afford you emotionally? Can they afford you? Can they afford your behaviors? Can they afford you mentally, psychologically, and not just physically? What I mean by that is like, can they afford you when you're going off the rails and you don't know left from right, up from down, east from west? And I think that's extremely important to understand that you're not gonna be yourself all the goddamn time. Like, it's impossible to be yourself all the time. Anybody told you, yeah, I've never got them mad, or it's like, again, like I said earlier, they're lying. Everybody's gotten mad. Everybody's gotten upset about something, over the course of their lifetime. And it's like, it's impossible to meet somebody who's never got them mad. Um, Now there's ways to go around it. There's ways to make yourself better, make yourself more trained how to handle certain situations. Um, Me personally, I don't argue with people. I just simply say, you right, and I keep it moving. You know, because I don't have time or the energy to sit there with somebody and go back and forth with them on their personal opinion of what they think about certain things. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. Because number one, it's like, if it really was that serious, you wouldn't be trying to argue about it. You would be coming up with solutions. And it's like, it's irritating to me to a point because instead of you sitting there and coming up with ways to get better, you're trying to argue and you're trying to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, no, And I had to tell some people, like, yo, well, like, I'm not your significant other, you know. Go argue with them, because I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna sit here and entertain something or somebody that doesn't bring any value to my life. And I think that's the wild part. Is like people think, oh yeah, because he, Mikey's friendly, this and this and that, yada yada yada. I'm like, no, like, it's like I'm cool, but don't keep talking to me. You know, it's like that one meme I sent my partner, and it's basically the meme was us. We're two cool cats, but it doesn't mean that you can constantly keep talking to us. Like we may say, hey man, how you doing? Boom, 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 keep it moving. But it doesn't mean that go ahead and talk our ears off, because nah, we ain't doing all that. And I think that's extremely important. And knowing your limits and knowing who to engage with and who the hell to leave alone. Because you don't want to end up in a situation where like you're constantly at wits with somebody, or you're constantly being badgered or whatever it is. And it's like at the end of the day, it's just not, it's not something that you want to deal with. And it doesn't matter what the situation is. It doesn't matter the scenario. It doesn't matter the environment. It's like I'm not gonna disrupt my peace simply because somebody else feels a certain way about something. I was like, okay, cool. That's your opinion. I don't care. You know, I don't find the need to say anything of value because it's nothing of importance for me to say. I don't find the need of trying to prove my point in a situation where my point is minute. It doesn't matter. I don't feel the need of engaging with an individual simply because they want to engage. And it took me a couple of decades to learn this. And I'm only 35, so it was like, I didn't really start doing this until I was like right after high school, going to college. Now it's different, It's like if we're gonna argue about sports or whatever it is, I'll argue with you all day long because that's fun. You know what I mean? And like it's not malicious. It's literally just a value of opinion. One thing about it, I'm never gonna argue religion or politics because it doesn't matter to me. You know, some of my best friends love them to death. They're Trump supporters. And I asked them why, just to get some clarification. And they tell me, like, oh, because he's a businessman, I'm a businessman. Okay, cool, I get all that. But I'm not going to spend hours on the phone with you arguing about that. I don't care. And neither should anybody else, because at the end of the day, we all have bills to pay. We all have things we have to get accomplished. And it's like, whoever the president of the United States of America is, doesn't matter, because every April 15th, we have to pay taxes. Every month we got credit card bills, we got rent, we got mortgages, we got car notes, we got car insurance, we got other bills that we have to pay. And it really doesn't matter, in the grand scheme of things, man, because at the end of the day, it's our responsibility to come save ourselves. Nobody's gonna come save us. And I think that's why a lot of people get it miscrewed out. They're like, oh, well, this, like, no, it's like, it is what it is. And I think when people who love to argue, they just want to have a sense of control, somewhere in their life, Like that's what I've realized. It's like people who love to argue, they just want to have a sense of control in their life because they have no control over their life. Or like when people have a difference of opinion and they say certain things or do certain things, I'm like yeah, okay, that's cool. It's that's whatever. But what does it have to do with the situation at hand? Just because you feel a certain way doesn't mean that it's right. Or it's like, and saying perception is reality, and it's true. perception is reality, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that your reality is crystal clear. You know, your perception could be warped. You know, your perception, you like an individual could think that they're the, that they're the, the nicest person ever, but how their behavior, and how they conduct themselves is completely opposite. It's like, yeah, it's like I tell people all the time. It's like you may think you're a great person, or you may think that you're not an asshole, but other people don't lie. You know, you know. Your interpretation of yourself is great, but how you conduct yourself, the shit that you've done in the past, and the shit that you're gonna do, it's extremely, extremely, extremely important that people realize. Is like, yeah, like you may not think that, but other people around you, that's their opinion of you, you know. And I'm not saying, oh, it's because like you're 40 and you're somebody from your high school years who you haven't seen in 25 years is saying, oh yeah, so and so's an asshole. It's like, bro, how do you know that? It's like you haven't seen me in 25 years. Like, what are you talking about? You know, like that's what's interesting to me is like because, like I just said, like there are certain people probably from your past that most likely aren't gonna like you, you know, for whatever reason, and it's like there's nothing you can do about it because it's like okay, it's like if you don't like me, that's fine, but at the same time, it's like I'm not gonna stop being who I am simply because you feel a certain way about it, and I'm not gonna stop being my genuine self because you feel threatened by it. And it's like I used to know this guy, you know, really good friend of mine, you know, middle school, high school, whole nine. There's like there used to be four of us, and I barely keep in contact with them now. Not that they bad people, it's just that you outgrow people, you know, like you know, very rarely do you find friendships that have lasted 20 plus years and are still intact, right? And this particular individual, I went to college when college was still somewhat affordable, you know. I think when I started college, I think like I was at community college, and I think when I went to college, it was like $700 a semester for a community college. Not bad, right? And it's still affordable. Um, I should tell you how long ago that was. And this particular individual, they were supposed to go to college that following spring, never went. You know, kept talking about, yeah, well, I'll do it next year, never went. And you fast forward damn near 20 years later, still don't have a college degree, don't have a certificate, you know, don't have nothing, and he's just working, you know. And there's nothing wrong with that. But my thing is like, you know, he was bitching and moaning to me one day. I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? It's like you had the same opportunities all four of us had. You just didn't want to take it. That's the difference. You know, out of four of us, two of us took it. Two of us went to school and got degrees and everything, right? Um, and yeah, I think that's extremely um, unfortunate that an individual missed his opportunity to better himself, not just academically, but just overall. And as usual, he came up with a bunch of excuses of why he couldn't do something or whatever it was. But at the end of the day, it's like what it came down to is like he didn't want it. And instead of me sitting and argue with him because it wasn't going to get nothing accomplished, I just simply said, you're right. I mean, because he was right. You know, if that's what you think about yourself, then homie, you are right. Yeah? I'm not going to sit here and waste my time and energy on a situation where it doesn't affect me. Like, why would I want to do that? or like, why would I want to sit there and just expound on something that doesn't need my expertise? Like, who does that? Right? Tell me about it. Who does that? And once you figure that out, and once you figure out who's really rocking with you, um, there's nothing you can't accomplish. Very rarely do you find people out there who genuinely want the best for you. And a lot of people will sit there and be like, yeah, 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 boom, 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 when shit's going good. And when it's going bad, it's like they're nowhere to be seen. But the moral of the story, man, is like, or the point of this episode topic is like, you can't. There's no point in sitting and arguing with people. There's literally no point. Just do the best you can in your life, make the best decisions you can possibly make, and let the chips fall where they may. You know, don't think that, oh, I have to do X, Y, and Z in this situation, because you don't. Just work on becoming the best version of you, and ask yourself, can somebody afford me? And if they can't afford you, work on what you can work on and become better. Don't sit there and say, oh well, like, this is just me and you have to take it. No, we don't. We don't have to take somebody who's emotionally unavailable, who emotionally acts like a child when he or she doesn't get their way, who doesn't know how to properly communicate, who doesn't, like, who shuts down when things get rough. It's like, yeah, it's like, nobody has to put up with that shit. Nobody. And like I said, ask yourself, can they afford you? And meaning that if they can't afford you, you have to go back and you have to look at who you are as an individual and work on that. Because nobody deserves to be in a relationship with somebody who's not 100% authentically themselves, who doesn't know themselves. And there's different levels of love and everything too. I'll talk about that next week. But I just wanted to touch on this topic because I think it's extremely important to realize that a lot of people, they're afraid of change simply because they don't want to change. And the fact is, like, if they were to change, that means they have to address what's in them internally. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They just want to sit there and be like, oh, well, this is who I am. Take it or leave it. No, the fuck we don't. We don't have to take anything you selling. All right, y'all. This is about 20 minutes of your life that y'all won't get back. Hope y'all keeping the 4 P's. Private, player, positive, pushing. I'll see y'all next week Sunday. I love y'all. Ghost. And like I always say, know your worth because you're better than what you are. Peace.